On piste number 2, we have from Crawley Sword and Anders. Referee Epee.
Next time.
On gun. Ready? On it. On gun. Ready? On it. On gun. Ready? On it. Oh, Stop, please. Final period. On guard. Red, allez. On guard. Red, allez.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second round of finals. On piece number 1 is men's foil. From Salle, Jamie Cook. His opponent from FCL, Alvin. Referee John on piece number 2 is women's Epee with Susan Sica against the Burrows and Salle. Referees, you may come start.
you.
garde. Prêt, allez. Attaque. Touche. One. On garde. Prêt, allez. Attaque contre attaque. Touche. One. On garde. Prêt, allez. Même chose. Attaque contre attaque. Touche. One. Attaque contre attaque. On garde. Prêt, allez. Reprise attaque à droite. Touche à gauche. One. On garde. Prêt, allez. Attaque au fer touche. One. En garde. Prêt, allez. Attention, attaque à droite, touche à gauche. One.
Good afternoon. You join us here in Sheffield for the British National Championships Women's Sabre final.
One.
It's an all Truro affair with Maria Chart on the right and Lexie Craze on the left.
Attaque, touche. One.
It's been a busy day in the women's sabre. It's been an event where there's been a couple of surprises. We've seen a lot of younger fencers really coming through this year, which is fantastic to see those juniors developing into the senior side of things.
Attaque, touche.
Maria Chart started that first half with a commanding lead. She's been strong on the attack. And I believe that this is Lexie Craze's first senior nationals final, but she is a stalwart of the junior women's sabre team and has had a very busy international season so far. No coaches for either fencer, given that they're both from the same club. Both considering their options here and what's going to happen in that second half. Maria had an excellent semi-final against clubmate Melissa Jane. Melissa Jane, another junior level fencer who's been working her way through the international circuit. Melissa took an early lead in that fight, but Maria's level of experience and length of time in the sport really shone through, and she made some excellent tactical decisions to bring that one to a close. Lexie had an excellent pull earlier today. She took a clean sweep of those fights, really showing how she's developed her tactical side of her fencing over the last couple of seasons. And we head into the second half of the women's sabre final now. Lexie's got some work to do to make up that deficit. Let's see what she can manage. Just rushing that first preparation a little bit, getting drawn into Maria's distance trap. But she shows Maria that she can do that too. Both fencers going for that commanding action in the middle there, but Lexie's just that little bit sharper. Maria a bit too keen off the line there, so referee Sam McClellan gives the yellow card. And unfortunately now Lexie also a little keen off the line there, so both fencers now sitting with yellow cards for that early start. Means they're both going to have to be that little bit more controlled in the middle, make sure that they're not going too early. And again, Sam says Lexie had that lead just a little bit more. Maria questioning it a little bit, but she's not gone to video for this one yet, saving those video calls for if the fight gets that little bit closer later in the bout. Both of these fencers have been fencing since they were very young. Lexie's older brother fenced for the GB team, and she said he is part of her inspiration and why she's been wanting to fence since she was only 5 years old. Maria starting strong with the attack there, but Lexie draws her short and finishes that really nice long attack. These fencers train together regularly, so they know each other very well. And Maria going to video there. Referee Sam McClellan said it was attacked from the left. Really close one to call. And that's why we've got these video systems here, so that we can analyse these ones in more detail. The video referee is having quite a detailed conversation. They're looking at it in half speed and full speed. Those small margins of timing and the intent on who's actually taken up that attacking action really matter when it's these close hits in the middle of the piste and Sabre. And the call stands. This time Maria is ahead and gets awarded the attack, and it's Lexie Craze who's calling for the video. Not sure I would see the referees changing their call on this one. Yeah, very clear attack from the right there. Both fencers preparing, and one light for Lexie there. Sounded like they maybe got a little bit caught up in each other's guards, and Lexie came out the better for it. A really sharp start off the line there, but Maria rushed that initial riposte and then pulls out a beautiful counter attack to finish that part of the match there. Again, it just shows that extra experience she's got, having been on the international circuit now for a number of seasons. Just a small problem with a mask wire slowing us down here as the referee goes out to assist. Lexie keeping herself busy, keeping the energy high. She wants this fight. Another lovely attack from Maria, and again, not giving it away lightly. She really wants this match. Again, another smooth attack there from Lexie, but Maria's questioning there. I think she's looking to see if there was a stop with the feet, but it looks like one continuous action from the left. And the referee maintains his call. Fencers both get 2 video appeals. If they're correct, they get to keep them. And yeah, Maria just over-prepares that little bit there. She was looking for the longer attack, thinking that Lexie was going to maybe go in and out or move back. And Lexie was able to pick up the timing and score the preparation. Quick change of weapons there. That blade was not recoverable from that angle, so we're on to the next one. And of course, the last number of years it's been an all-Truro women's sabre final between Maria Chart and Katie Maxwell, but Katie is out at the Olympic qualifiers this weekend, and we're wishing her the best. However, Maria's closed out that match with another win. I think this is her second consecutive nationals that she's won now. And that was a really, really close fight between some great club mates. Fantastic fencing all round. And now we're heading on to the men's sabre final here at the British National Championships in Sheffield. And if you're just joining us, that's us starting the men's Sabre final at the British National Championships here in Sheffield at the English Institute of Sport. The referees for this match are Alex Schiefers and Martin Naj, and the fencers are Curtis Miller and Dan Twine. Both Curtis and Dan have been members of the British squad at internationals over the last number of seasons. Curtis previously out training in France for a season or so. However, he's been very focused on his own business and his coaching over the last season or so it's great to see him back fencing. Dan is a slightly younger fencer who's been coming through on the under 20 and under 23 circuit, and he's hungry to demonstrate his skills and talents. In the semi-finals earlier today, Curtis beat Olympias, who has been again on the British team for the last couple of seasons. Again, a really, really nice match up there, some really good technical and tactical fencing. And Dan Twine in his semi-final matched up against JJ Webb. A really close match there, which finished 15-13. Dan Twine being supported by one of the coaches from his club, Epee there, and Curtis representing Camden Fencing Club. Curtis, very well experienced fencer, has come through cadet, junior and senior national teams. So it'll be interesting to see if his skills and experience go over and above the skills that Dan is continuing to develop as that younger fencer. Curtis thought Dan had stopped there, but he kept that continuous attack and scores the first point. Dan just a little bit twitchy on the alley there. Curtis able to take that up. Dan being a little bit speculative there, but picks up the timing for the attack. And Curtis is just a little bit ahead there. Dan asking for a video at this really early stage in the match. Interesting that in both Sabre finals we had one right-handed and one left-handed fencer. Although left-handers make up around about 1 in 7 in the population, they make up about 1/4 of fencers and do tend to be in the top end of performance charts, which I think is common and true in a lot of sports. And the referee sticks with that original call, and the score needs to be corrected there. Dan keeping the pressure on there, really active defence, but just not quite in control. And Curtis takes up the attack. Curtis just asking permission to take his mask off there. He'll be looking to open up a bit of a lead before he heads into the break, but it's a very close match so far, just one touch in it. Curtis calm and quietly controlled his actions, but knows he didn't make the right decision there, and Dan just that little bit keener. Interesting choice from Dan there, and the referee has decided himself to go to video. He's looking to see whether Dan stopped or whether that was a continuous action. He did stop and take a step back, but it's very dependent on what his opponent did in response to that. The referee calls that as reprised attack. Curtis wasn't quick enough to step into it. Curtis looking for the compound action, but the initial one's no. And then Dan misses on the riposte there, and Curtis renews. Dan thinking about a video, but his coach advises him against it. And a very straightforward attack there from Curtis. Slightly different line that he opted for this time. I wonder if that will be his next tactic. And unfortunately Curtis just comes off the side of the piste a little there, which stops the match and means they have to restart again. Dan looking to maximise that footwork, but just a little bit twitchy. And he starts the attack a little bit sharper than Curtis. Curtis showing his frustrations a little bit there. He knows it's just his decision making that needs a little bit of sharpening up. And Dan using that athleticism to push down the piste. Long finish. And Dan feels he takes the blade, but Curtis is asking if he has picked it up. He reckons that that was his blade action on the end. So the referee goes to review with his colleague. The ref calls them back on guard and sticks with his decision that that was one attack from Dan. Curtis putting the pressure on, takes the attack all the way down to the end of the piste with a beautiful finish there. This is going to stay close heading into that first break. Dan looking for the attack again. Referee just self-referring to the video again, making sure that he gets this one correct. Slightly too close to call as both fencers made a slight break, slight error in their attack. And so the referee is making sure he's not penalising anyone, he's just going and checking the timing on the video before making that decision. And he says that the attack came from Curtis on the left. And Curtis manages to draw Dan short. However, the ref says he misses that first riposte and that it is Dan's second action there that scores. Curtis not happy with the call initially, but confirmed by his coach that that's correct, giving him that bit of reassurance to just get on and start with the next hit. And he draws Dan short again. He's patient, pushes, and it's the attack of fair to take us into that break at 8-7 to Curtis Miller. Both fencers conferring with their coaches. Curtis speaking with Ian Williams, who has been coaching him since he was a kid. And Dan Twine speaking with Bryn Saunders. Bryn, an ex-Truro fencer, now living in London or in that area and coaching at PDFA. Seems to be telling Dan to push on and be that little bit more aggressive. Maybe sees a little bit of that hesitation, but that twitchiness that we've seen at the start. Ian and Curtis focusing more on that decision making and what's the correct action, what can they force in terms of errors, take advantage of that situation. At 8-7 it's anybody's game, so it'll be interesting to see what the second half brings. And the referee calls both fencers back on guard. As I said, Curtis just that bit more experienced, a few more international seasons under his belt. Can he bring that experience to the forefront? A little bit smoother in his actions, a bit more decisive. Dan athletic and keen. And Curtis just a little bit too late there. Dan ahead on the attack. Curtis pushing down the piste, but Dan manages to collect the blade. Slightly unconventional action there. And he takes the lead again. Both fencers vying for priority in that centre part of the piste, and Curtis fails to land the attack there. It can be hard to make that transition between coaching and fencing, difficult to do both at the same time, but hopefully Curtis can pick his game up. And the referee calls that one as attack right. Curtis asks for a video replay. Be interesting to see what the referee comes back with here. Another really close call in the middle of the piece there. Both fencers thinking that it's their attack. And the referee sticks with that call. Dan misses the riposte, so Curtis has an opportunity here to close that scoreline again if he can just finish, and he does. Only 2 hits in it, so this match is very far from over yet. Curtis conferring with his coach before coming back on guard. And Dan with that attack again there. Looks like Curtis needs to maybe change up his decision making a little bit. He's winning those points where he does manage to draw Dan short and has the patience to finish, but not winning in that middle section. This time he manages to take up the attack. He gets out of the middle a little bit more. Dan looking to come out with the attack there, but the blade is met, and Curtis takes up that riposte. Only 1 hit in it now, a really close match. Dan starting to look a bit tired, but still keen. Misses his opportunity for the riposte there, and Curtis manages to take up the reprise. Curtis needs to stick with some good decisions here. And it looks like that is an attack from Curtis again. Again, changing up that line seems to work for him. He just needs to pick up that timing with the feet. Dan has asked the referees to confer with the video. And the ref calls them back on guard and sticks with his original call. No more videos left for either fencer now. If it ends up at 14-all, the ref will automatically check the video. This time, the time is not quite right for Curtis, and Dan manages to finish the attack there. 13-all. First time we've seen Curtis going back in defence now. And doesn't quite manage to pull the distance trap or catch the parry. So a nice finish there from Dan on the long attack. We need a good decision here from either fencer. And Curtis manages to hold that distance. Dan commits to the attack that little bit too soon, falls into Curtis's trap. And here we are at 14-all in the final of the Men's Sabre National Championships. Dan keen for the attack, and the referee confers with the video as he has to at 14-all when there are 2 lights here. That looks like it's been fairly consistently given as attack counter-attack in this match, but difficult to see from this angle, so let's see what the video ref comes back with. Making sure they have a really good look at that full speed and slowed down. Video ref pointing at the feet here, trying to decide if that's a break, a pause, or if it's a continuous action. And the ref comes back, calls the referees with their masks back to the on-guard line. Says that they both stop, and Curtis takes up the attack. And you can see how much that means to him today. And to his coach. Really close match, really well fought by both fencers, and an excellent finish to our national championship finals on the individual day.